In every generation, two Prose are born. Chosen to watch every episode of Buffy and tell you what they think about them. This is the Prose Visit Sunnydale. Season 2.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale. I am Geoff.
And I am Eddie Cruz.
And today we are doing Season 2, Episode 21, Becoming.
We're at the last episode.
Part 1.
Part one of 2.
Yes.
But we're still at the last episode.
Technically, yeah.
Technically, yes.
Are you excited?
Yes.
I'm kind of excited.
Just peed myself.
Shit's happening.
I need to go change.
Yeah. But shit's happening, man.
Yeah, man, like a lot. This episode was thick.
It's not like the last several ones where we were kind of...
This isn't
along,
Monster
man.
of the Week. I got some notes.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Hey, Geoff, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
We used to watch this show on Netflix. And
Yes.
it's not on Netflix anymore. Buffy's no longer on Netflix.
No, that's kind of bullshit.
And if I want to watch every episode with the Prose Bros, because I'm not a Prose Bro, where can I go to watch it?
You can go back in time and pay $60, $45 to $60 for each season.
It sounds like a personal mistake you're talking about here.
Yeah. But at any rate, you can now basically pay $8, $10, whatever Hulu costs. You can watch it on Hulu.
Absolutely.
There are commercials. Mm-hmm. You can buy the seasons on Amazon. I actually have a physical copy, and it's basically $25 a season. Mm-hmm. And I found they have like the entire series with some extras for like I think $130.
$130. I think I found
all
it
7.
Used all 7 for $65.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get it pretty cheap. Either way, Hulu is the new Netflix for Buffy. I find it's kind of hard to find Buffy nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty shitty that it's no longer on Netflix.
Yeah.
I wonder if, I don't personally know, but if there's any station, like a cable station that's playing it, syndication, there's got to be.
I don't know anymore, man. TV's dead. Long live streaming.
Yeah. I would go Hulu unless you want to pay individual episodes on Amazon.
Or just
iTunes,
send Joss
whatever.
Whedon like $60 and make it his problem. Have him see what happens. You should send a letter to Joss Whedon with $60 in it saying like, hey, can I have the Buffy episodes? And see what happens.
Yeah, basically you will not get your $60 or the episodes.
Never mail money.
So now I have a question for you.
What's that?
What was this episode about?
So much. We start in 1780. And we start with narration.
Who's narration?
I think it's Angel.
We had an argument about
Yes,
this.
we did. So we started the episode, and I was like, that's not Angel, it's Whistler. You'll find out later. And it turns out that when we found out later, it was Angel. Or at least we're assuming that that's Angel, even though it still doesn't sound like David Boreanaz to me. But it doesn't sound like Whistler.
No.
So I'm guessing it's David Boreanaz, because who else would know that scene other than Angel?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Angel. Angel starts out narrating, and he says some like really cryptic, kind of way too deep affirmations you find, like biblical affirmation or otherwise, that are really cheesy. That's what this sounds like.
It's way too generic. And
Yeah,
he's saying
yeah.
something along the lines
He's
like
like,
there's a point in everyone's life or blah, blah, blah. It seems to me like it's going to be like a hero's journey, right?
Yeah, he essentially
like it's the
says
start of a
sometimes
hero
big
movie.
events happen and sometimes small events happen, and they can change the course of your life. And then he's like, let me show you an example. So you see him walking out of a bar in Ireland, drunk as shit, with a bad Irish accent. This is the episode of bad accents. This is where all the accents culminate into one gigantic bad accent. But it starts in this episode with Angel coming out of the bar. He's obviously inebriated. He's with his friend. His friend passes out because he's so drunk. And Angel sees Darla.
Who has no accent.
Who has no accent.
Well, American accent.
She has an American accent. And she's wearing one of those poofy dresses from like the westerns that you see with a bustier or whatever it's called.
I was thinking French harlot.
French harlot. That is an also acceptable answer.
Thank you.
You win Jeopardy. So he goes up and talks to her. She essentially gives him the gist, right? Like, hey, do you want to live forever? Do you want to be by my side? And he doesn't know what she's talking about. And she turns into a vampire and she bites him.
Do you think that he knew what was going on, or he was drunk enough? He's like, oh, this is a prostitute, and I'm going to get me some, and whatever the fuck she's saying, I'm just going to go along with it.
I'm not going to go as far as to say he thought she was a prostitute. I think she definitely thought, like, hey, that girl is dressed very promiscuously, and I like that. I don't know about prostitute.
But she is a prostitute.
Well, she was before she died.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
All right, we're getting... Yeah, that's way too far ahead.
So she bites him, and then she puts him on his knees, and he gets to drink some of that titty blood.
Titty blood?
Yeah. She cuts her boobs open with her nail.
That's
puts his
best
face,
kind of blood, right?
Like essentially a motorboat? Like when you motorboat somebody? I don't know.
I've never motorboated somebody. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
By the way, this is weird. Can vampires smell?
I don't know.
Because Angel must smell like shit at this point, right?
Maybe.
Because it's Ireland, 1780.
Yes.
He probably doesn't shower regularly and has been drinking for God knows how long. Mm-hmm. Like, why would you, like, feel, oh, yeah, this dude?
I don't know, man. I mean, she drinks blood. I could think at that point you're good with everything, including, like, BDSM and pee-pee-poo-poo stuff.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I don't know. Either way, they're cool with how they smell. So he drinks her blood, and you cut to Buffy in a cemetery. She is beating up a vampire. Xander's on the floor next to her, and she's talking to the vampire as she's kicking her ass, or his ass?
Yeah,
his ass. And she's saying, I need you to give Angel a message. Can you tell him blah, 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 blah. Never mind. Kills the vampire.
Basically, I'm bringing the fight to you. I'm now ready to fuck you up, motherfucker.
Yeah, essentially she's saying, I'm ready to kill you.
Yeah.
Like, I no longer am afraid of killing you.
I like that. I'm ready to fuck you up, motherfucker. Like, she gets all hood.
So she's like, I'm bringing the fight to you. And halfway through the fight decides, never mind, I'll kill you. And says, I'll tell him myself. She picks up Xander. He says something witty. Cut to Giles finding the gin from Wishmaster.
But just the box.
Just the box. Or in other words, the obelisk.
Yeah.
Yeah. The obelisk, we'll come to find out, is a being or entity that will destroy the world when he finds somebody worthy enough.
What did you think of that scene with the chief?
The curator, the chief
from Rescue Me.
It was pretty good. I mean, it definitely gave you that Giles boner quality.
So the chief, that dude definitely has a real accent, but it seemed kind of off-putting in that scene that he's the curator and he's like this like Bronx, Brooklyn accent in Sunnydale and a curator of a museum that has this.
This is
it was
like
weird.
Gigantically ancient thing. Yeah,
it was a little off-putting
really
for me.
Yeah. By the way, when I say Giles boner, it's usually something nerdy or having to do with the occult that gives Giles a boner.
Like, I do you think anybody thinks that Giles literally has a boner when you say that?
I'm just making sure I cover all my bases.
Okay.
He starts talking to Giles, and he's like, isn't this cool? I want to open it. You want to open it? And he's like, no, I think we should wait. And he's like, oh, no, man, I'm really curious. And he's like, I am too, but I think we should wait.
The funniest thing is normally when you do these summaries, it's not like that. But it was exactly like that. like, oh, I was going to open it. We should open it. little over the top, but enjoyable.
So he convinces the curator not to open it until he does a little bit more research. He takes a sample of it, and then you cut to Xander in the cafeteria reenacting the fight in the cemetery with mozzarella sticks. And after that, you have kind of a little Scooby gathering. Snyder shows up and says, hey, Willow, why are you on Oz's lap? Even though she's wearing the best contraceptive overalls. So you know that Oz doesn't have a boner or anything under there.
It's another in the complete set of overall attire she has.
The Oshkosh by Gosh line.
You know, this one didn't look as bad as some of the, like, all red or, like, yellow.
I would argue with you that at least those were, like, cut better. Like, this one was really high up. This was, like, a very, like, that's kind of ridiculous, me saying, like, non-revealing overalls. But, like, this was a very, like, I don't know,
I don't know how many girls got kicked out of school for wearing like extremely revealing overalls when we went.
I remember some revealing overalls, like the kind that like go all the way down like to the sides, like you see some side.
Got it. Revealing overalls, Sean Connery and Zardoz.
Yeah,
those are revealing overalls right there. Willow did not have those.
Oh, that is a deep cut.
Deep nerd cut.
Oh, man. That is the best overall ever. What's that new trend that all the guys are wearing?
I don't know about all the guys, but...
I have a pair.
I think you're talking about rompers.
Rompers, dude.
You have a pair?
Zardoz. Zardoz rompers. The Sean Connery romper.
Another funny thing, Sean Connery did wear a romper in, I think, one of the James Bond movies.
And they used the same romper for Zardoz. They just cut it up.
It being a completely different color. Hey, so this is the only time we see Oz in this episode.
Yeah, it's like he needed that one like appearance so he can keep his health
paycheck. Yeah, got it.
There you go. Snyder shows up. He does the Snyder thing, which we all love. Every time he comes on, I'm just so happy. His fucked up teeth and all.
I kind of love his teeth.
I know. They're so fucked up.
The shitty thing is he can't be a good character because his teeth are so fucked up. His teeth are evil.
His teeth are evil.
So what was it?
And he smokes.
Yeah. Cigarettes are evil.
Goatees make you old.
Yeah. And crooked teeth are evil?
Yeah.
Evil?
Well, crooked teeth make you an evil actor. I guess you're a heel.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to get those caps, son. So Willow starts talking to Buffy about her grades, and they kind of really make a big deal out of this. Like, they kind of bring up going to school and how slaying is affecting Buffy's grades, her life, and how Willow's trying to help Buffy through this. And I think they're really trying to push that. They've done it before, obviously, and they're doing it in this episode heavily. I think just to remind you that while she's going through all this deep shit with Angel and Jenny Calendar and all of this stuff, she still has to go to school every day.
Well, I think it's been a while, and we've talked about it having, or the show having several different writers. This is Joss Whedon written and directed. Mm-hmm. So it's back to him, and it's also a setup for what's going to happen next episode, if you remember what happens with her as far as Snyder and school goes.
Yes. So they do have to set that up, and I think it's pretty good. I really like the fact that they brought all that in. It doesn't really feel out of place, but it's the only time they really kind of do that, and it also didn't really have anything to do with what's going on as far as plot. And then cut to London, 1860, and you hear Angel kill a priest as Drusilla is walking into a confession booth. Drusilla is still human at this point, and she's in the confession asking for forgiveness because she thinks that she is an evil person. And what what she assumes is a priest telling her that she is in fact evil and she should just give in to the evil because that's what God wants, is actually Angel telling her all this after he's killed the priest.
And she thinks she's evil because she's seeing these visions.
Mm-hmm. She has essentially a special power.
Clairvoyant, right?
Clairvoyant, yeah, clairvoyancy. So Angel sees how awesome she is and makes her his target. One thing I didn't really understand, is she the gypsy he killed that eventually led to him having a soul again?
I don't think so, because that would mean that basically Jenny Calendar is a descendant of Drusilla, mm-hmm. and they're all related, but that never comes up.
So I don't really understand why they're telling all these snippets of backstory. I guess just like little cuts of his life to see like moments that have changed it. So like when he turned Drusilla, and then when he got his soul back, are essentially the 3 flashbacks we get. But how are those connected? Are they connected at all?
I don't think any of them are connected.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, that being said, he ends up talking to her a whole bunch and then gives her a remedy for her feelings. He says, do 10 Our Fathers, and after that you'll be fine. Right?
An act of contrition.
And an act of contrition, which I still don't really, like, what does that mean? Like, do something nice?
Yeah.
Like, go help a lady cross the street?
Probably.
All right. Then they cut back to her as a vampire, and Angel is once again caressing her and looking at Spike and being super dick about it, and they pick up the newspaper and see the picture of the obelisk. and they see obelisk found. And
It's like-
they're both like, what?
It's like that scene where the bad guy in a movie is revealing the plan to the audience, right?
Yeah.
That's how I felt that.
Or when you pick up like a Target ad and you see just a killer deal. You're like, we got to get over there and get one of them.
Although the weird thing with that, like, Angel was telling this all to Spike, who was unimpressed, and giving him this creepy look.
Yeah.
Like-
just like a kind of like, I want to fuck you, dude.
I would say it was pretty sexual.
Yeah. Like, I want to fuck that wheelchair-ridden body of yours.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Is that worse?
Yeah, definitely. It seems very weird based on the rest of Angel and Spike's relationship, because normally he's like basically insulting him, and this time it's I don't know. I didn't know what to think about that little look, but it was cool.
It was weird. So you cut again to Willow and Buffy, and Willow's actually teaching Buffy and showing her some stuff in Jelly Calendar's room because she's still the teacher of that class.
Yeah.
And she's giving out detention and all this other shit. And Buffy drops her pencil. And when the pencil falls, it falls right next to the disc. She picks it up without finding the disc, and you're like, oh, God. And then she says, deja vu, and goes for the pencil again.
So I have a
Finding
question
the
real
disc.
fast. She says deja vu. Did she dream about this in a previous episode that I missed?
I don't think we saw that, but I guess that's what we're assuming. I think that this episode is kind of bringing in clairvoyancy as a thing that people have. I think it may be kind of giving the audience the impression that Buffy has this gift.
Well, she does through dreams.
Yes.
They've established that, but we don't...
Well, they've established it, but they haven't really kind of sunk it in. It feels like this episode kind of sinks all the clairvoyancy stuff as being a total thing.
I just thought that was so weird because it was like that felt like a scene I would remember, and maybe I don't. But I don't know.
I don't think that was established at all so far. So she goes back down. She finds a disc. They look at it and they realize what it is, and it's a disc that restores
all of Jenny Calendar's porn.
Exactly, it restores a link to Pornhub that has all of her liked pornography.
Just a bunch of British dudes drinking tea, butt ass naked, except for a tweed coat.
Yeah, she's actually
Her type.
into that gamer porn where people play video games and have sex at the same time. You cut to the gypsies doing a spell on Angel, and
The curse.
Angel falling down next to a fire that's really convenient. He conveniently placed fire, and gypsy 40-year-old man is
Randomly stepping out of the shadows.
Yeah.
I kind of loved and hated that scene. The fire for me was like, what the fuck,
fuck?
a campfire? I was like, okay,
Like,
good
who is-
lighting.
Number one, who is this fire for other than him? Why did they have that fire? Who's tending it? Is that guy just been waiting there for an hour?
I think he was.
Just waiting there for Angel to fall out of the forest?
For him to come up and be like, yeah, motherfucker.
Dude, did that hurt? Did that hurt, motherfucker? Does it hurt getting us all back? He's like, that's for my daughter. And they had shown a gypsy being burned on a funeral pyre because she's been killed by Angel. So they return Angel's soul back in Giles' office.
Real fast before we do that, I wanted to talk about the curse a little bit. So this is the curse that has been mentioned, like the main thing, right? And we get to actually see it. And I started thinking about it during this episode. The curse is not for the human being Angel. It's for the demon Angelus.
Angelus.
To, I guess, essentially restore some amount of humanity to it.
Yes.
What's fucked up is the soul of Angel, the human being, gets fucked in the process, right?
Yes.
Because he's the one that's being tortured just as much as this demon for having the humanity.
Yes.
And that's
essentially a person that's done absolutely none of the bad deeds is now coming back and dealing with all of the remorse of all of these deeds done by a demon who took over his body.
And that's fucked up. That seems almost worse for him than it does for the actual demon. He
Yes.
had nothing to do with this. He just, and I guess this is my question, was he just caught in the crossfire of this curse? The curse isn't for him. It's for Angelus.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of covered pretty well in Angel, kind of thing, like he was picked to become the hero. I don't think it's random. However, I do think that he's unfortunate. That sucks, you know, to have to come back and be like, I killed how many people? Wait, no, I mean, I've been dead.
And I saw it with that scene when it's like, he doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
So he's like, holy
essentially,
shit.
these gypsies are doing a horrible thing to him.
To this person, Angel.
Yeah, well, this person that's, I guess at this point we can say a soul. This soul angel is brought back to have centuries of suffering for things that he didn't commit. Sins he didn't commit.
It's fucking terrible. Imagine just coming to and being, oh shit, I killed a lot of people. Last thing I remember, I was just getting wasted in my 20s. And now, oh shit, I've lived 2 centuries and I've killed massive amounts of people.
You're like, man, I shouldn't have taken that 3rd, 4th, or 5th shots of Fernet Branca, man.
It's like, god damn it.
Shit fucks you up, bro. I mixed it with Jaeger and absinthe. No,
It's,
back at that time they just had one.
It's weird. It's something
One
I've
liquor.
never thought of in Buffy, particularly in season 2 at the end. It's something, again, you said that you think about more in Angel and his series, but I was like, holy shit, this idea gets planted right here in this episode.
Absolutely. So they cut back to Buffy and Willow, and they have the printed out paper of the translation to restore Angel's soul. They give it to Giles, and this causes obviously some argument between the group, right? I mean, Angel has killed Giles's lover. So they come up to him and say like, oh, we have this great news. But to him, it might not be great news. And to Xander,
It's definitely not.
It's definitely not. Because Xander becomes total, asshole Xander. And just starts saying like, hey, what does it matter? So what? So what that you found it?
But kind of typical Xander.
Yeah.
Xander's always hated Angel. And it's
Yeah.
not like Xander's a big thinker. Like, he's more about fuck Angel anyway, because I'm sure in the back of his mind, he has this thing like, oh, he's completely out of the way, then maybe I have a chance with Buffy.
Which is really fucked up. He's putting his own desires in front of everything else.
It seems like the type of person Xander is and continues to be.
And he yells to Giles something about... Giles says essentially, well, this is Jenny's last wish. And then Xander yells, well, Jenny's dead. And
Which is
Giles,
fucked
yeah,
up.
that's fucked up. Of course he knows Jenny's dead. He died in his bed. She died in his bed. You know, he still lives in that apartment.
Do you think this was like supposed to be like Xander giving a wake-up call to Giles? Like,
I think
she's
that's what
dead.
it was. That's what it was meant to be. But it's so callous. It doesn't matter what it was supposed to be in his head. It was obviously not something he should have said.
I liked that Giles just lost it.
Yeah, that was
like,
very, very raw emotion. You know, it was cool.
So you did like that scene?
Yeah, the
then?
scene was great. It was just one of those scenes where it's like, I don't think Xander, as a character, should have said that to his friend Giles. Like, have some empathy, man. So they argue with Xander. Xander gets really fucking mad, and they all storm out of there.
Cordy backs him, and
Cordy
Xander
backs him
ends
for the
up-
first time. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
actually a good little light part where he's like, I wish for once you would just take my side, and I now realize that's what you were doing, and I take all that back.
kind of light. I was all like, fuck you, Xander.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. He has a point, though, in the sense of like, well, you're going to bring back Angel, and like we were just saying, that's a really fucked up thing to do. And it'd be a really fucked up thing to kind of bring him back again and be like, oh, you killed more people. Right? Like, oh, you killed more people, and you're planning on destroying the whole world now. Like, you're super evil when you don't have a soul.
Okay, but what do you do at that point? Do you just like, all right, fucking, his soul's gone. We'll let his soul be wherever his fucking soul is, which we find out next season where it is exactly. But I don't know. What do you do? That's like a hard call, and they don't know what's happening.
Yeah. I don't know. And also, at this point, restoring his soul is not just a thing for Buffy to enjoy and in order to bring Angel back, it's actually a way to stop the world from ending at this point. Right? To restore his soul is to essentially stop him from trying to destroy the world. So by restoring his soul, they can actually save the planet. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a backup plan at this point.
Which I still have an issue with the motivation behind Angelus deciding to suck the entire world into hell. I don't know why all of a sudden he got a wild hair up his ass and that's what he wanted to do.
I think that he always moves on whims, right? Like, he doesn't want to be placed into a box as far as his actions. He wants to be unpredictable. And I think that because he can't beat Buffy, that's definitely a way to beat her, especially since it kills everybody she loves and it kind of undermines her whole job as a slayer by destroying the world. It's like the ultimate fuck you without having to actually fight her and defeat her.
I can get that, and I can get behind that, but it feels very supervillain to me.
Yeah.
It's like, let's destroy everything. And I think it's just something I'm going to have to move past. That
it's
I
kind
don't
of a
like.
Lex Luthor kind of thing going on there.
I don't particularly like it because I know later on in the series they do things so much better as far as motives. Mm-hmm. But, you know, big
I
bad.
think this is probably the last time we see like a faulty motive like that.
Well, I think we see faulty motives with bad guys or big bads in the series, but I guess I expect a little more out of Angel because I know what happens later on. And maybe I should just take it at face value. Like, he is evil. He doesn't ever get his soul back, at least as far as this episode is concerned. Mm-hmm. I should just move on.
So cut to Angel and Spike and Drusilla in the museum, killing the curator, finding the obelisk, opening the obelisk, and telling you what it is. It is a demon who has a sword in it. The demon is completely made out of stone and has an open mouth, has little horns. Spike brings it up. He says, so I'm just guessing you take that sword out and it'll activate the end of the world because everything will be sucked into this hole.
I liked Spike explaining that because it's very like, oh, dry, sarcastic. Let me guess. This is what happens here.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like almost like a meta thing. He's detailing that the show's plot may be a little bit predictable. So cut to Buffy patrolling in the cemetery. She turns around and, surprise, surprise, Kendra, the vampire slayer.
Well, she's walking home, right? She was patrolling and then walking home. Because Kendra makes a comment that
the Slayer's job never ends, man. Walking home, that's patrolling.
Okay, yeah.
Just kidding. Anyway, you were saying what?
No, she's basically just following her because they make that comment back and forth that she snuck up on her, sneaked up on her.
She's like, I wanted to test your reflexes. So, the second worst accent in the episode.
I would say the worst.
The worst, yeah. Well, I don't know. Angel's is pretty goddamn bad. I mean, when he tries it. See, it's awesome. Yes, look, so
it's nothing as bad as Angel season 5 where he actually says arse and it's just
what's wrong with yours? Shove it up yours. It's awful. It's awful. So she comes in and essentially says, my watcher had a premonition, some dark shit's happening, so he sent me down to help you out.
What's basically what Spike does in the scene right before where Buffy's all, let me guess.
Yeah.
Your watcher had a premonition, sent you down. She's like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what happened.
What's great is finally, and I think this is part of Joss Whedon writing the show versus anybody else, it's starting to have a big sense of humor about itself. Like major events, serious events are happening, and it's funny because it's poking fun at itself.
So you cut to Giles explaining what the obelisk is and explains that everybody will be sent into a torturous hell dimension. And Kendra's like, she has a sword and it can stop the demon. Essentially, once it's open, this sword is blessed by the angel Michael or Saint Michael or some shit like that. And this sword can be stabbed into the monster and can close it.
Totally missed that part. I mean, got the sword, but yeah, sure. It's
She says basically once it's
mystical sword.
Yeah, mystical sword that she thinks can stop this whole thing from going down.
That's exactly what female Hermes Conrad said.
I think. So you have that whole thing, and I gotta say that Kendra really feels like a plot device this episode.
Yeah.
She really kind of came out of nowhere. She doesn't really have any kind of backstory. She's obviously there because she exists. It's like, all right, a major event, let's have both Slayers there.
So how off-putting is that to you, really?
I mean, I guess she wouldn't come to face the swim team. Or, or definitely not the Freddy Krueger monster and Killed by Death.
Yeah.
So I understand why she's been gone. But it just seems, I don't know, kind of like you don't put the president and the vice president in the same room. Like, maybe have one of them in Africa and one in the United States. Maybe that's a good thing. In case one dies, you still have another Slayer. I guess that still happened, but I don't know. It just seemed kind of like she showed up to die. Oh, yeah. Am I getting ahead of myself?
Probably.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of fine with her being a plot device in this, because it's not like you really cared about her all that much. Mm-hmm. And her showing up to help is like, okay, yeah, sure. This seems like a big enough event for it to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not excited to see her, nor am I pissed. She's just kind of like another character.
And if I did spoil anything, the next scene with her giving Buffy her favorite steak kind of alludes to the fact that she's going to die.
Mr. Pointy.
Yeah, she gives her Mr. Pointy, here, for good luck, take my favorite steak. And it's like a really nice steak. Like, I could see a nice table made out of that kind of wood. It's very pointy.
I don't remember it being that crooked. I thought it was like more...
Yeah, it's kind of like Harry Potter's wand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to say right now, it's completely wrong. Kendra never wears overalls.
Yeah, she doesn't. She wears like that Aladdin chic in the first one. In this one, she's kind of dressed like...
slightly more modern.
Yeah, like a little bit like Jax's daughter in Mortal Kombat 2. Yeah.
I imagine like a Terminator-esque scene where she...
Yeah, she's dressed like Linda Hamilton.
Well, I just more meant like give me your clothes sort of thing when she flies in. Or
that's my new favorite shirt. That's my new only shirt. So they cut back to Angel, and he is trying to do a satanic ceremony to open the obelisk. He wants to be worthy enough, and he's like all being super kind of dicky about it, like, watch me ascend. Kills a guy, drinks his blood, goes up to the thing, grabs a handle, cut to commercial. When we come back to commercial, from commercial, it's glowing, and then tosses him away, and Spike makes a comment, somebody isn't worthy. And
it's basically evil Sword in the Stone. That's what's happening
absolutely.
right now.
It's like King Arthur if King Arthur was a douchey scumbag with an overcoat.
Which I thought we were kind of done with the whole like ceremony thing of vampires, but I guess not.
No, there's going to be many more ceremonies, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially like towards season 7 or at the end, like in season 7, there's fucking too many ceremonies.
I guess that's why I like Spike so much, because he's all like, fuck that.
Yeah, that's Spike's MO, right? He's the, I was going to say Billy Idol.
He's the anarchist punk, you can say that.
Absolutely. He's a Sid Vicious, if you will. We see Angel become not worthy, and then we cut to Angel, and he's super dirty. And he's chasing a rat, trying to get a meal. At this point, you're in 1970 or no, I guess 80, right? 1980s,
which
maybe.
I felt
late 1980s.
Well, no, wasn't that? I thought that was the 1990s, right before like the whole
right before
Buffy thing.
Okay.
Right before Buffy.
So 1990, cut to 1990. This whole time since he's been turned into a vampire with the soul by the gypsies, and 1990 he's just been living in the sewers. Staying out of man's way, trying not to kill anybody.
Eating rats.
Which
felt very...
essentially starving to death.
Yeah, it felt very Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
Yet another scene
it felt
that
very
was...
Louis. Yeah. It was
that.
kind of annoying, and like, why not just kill yourself? Self-loathing vampires are kind of...
Is this where your boy shows up?
and my boy Whistler shows up.
So, two things that, at least that I believe of you've been excited about since we started doing this podcast.
Yes.
One, seeing Xander in a Speedo.
Every time.
Which has happened.
Every time.
And you've been talking about this Whistler motherfucker since...
It's because he shows up and then he disappears and never talk about him again. Like, he's told by Angel, I want to learn things from you. Like, he's a teacher. He's a guru. He's a guy that teaches Angel how to love, how to care about something again. And you never hear about him again. That bothered me. He essentially turned into the Doyle character. Essentially, they were like, oh, we need that Whistler character back. That guy was a little ugly. Let's get this other guy that's Irish. That's actually Irish.
You know what's weird? I always thought that actor who played Doyle was doing, at least when I first
started... A really
started,
good accent?
No, I thought he was doing a fake Irish accent.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like a really good fake accent?
Yeah, and apparently, I guess...
No, he's actually Irish.
Yeah, I think he was trying to do an American accent and just doing it poorly.
Yeah, I think that's more the gist, yeah. So
Whistler.
So Whistler is essentially just talking to Angel in kind of riddles.
He's his Yoda.
Yeah, he's his Yoda. He makes it known that he's, in fact, a demon, but not all demons are bad. So you get the beginning foundation of what comes in Season 4 with Buffy and in all of Angel, which is there are demons out there that are just trying to live their lives and not trying to kill people. Which
I loved. I think this was the episode in Season 2 that there was some I liked. We talked about like what was it, Reptile Boy? Mm-hmm. They're amusing, Monster of the Week, but once I got to this, I was like, holy shit, there's so much depth in this. Yeah. And they can go so many different places. I was hooked.
So first he teaches him about blood. He's like, hey, you know that people are throwing out pig's blood? Butchers are throwing out gallons of pig's blood. He's like, that's good blood. You can live off that blood. You need to eat more. He mentions the fact that Angel can go either way at this point. Once again, all of
straight
this...
or gay?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean,
I thought he was hitting on him the whole time.
That whole look he gave Spike earlier now has a little bit more to it. However, it's just basically the foundation for all of the Angel series, right? This episode really kind of details what Doyle does in Angel.
So can I ask you, do you know if they had already had plans to make Angel like a spinoff?
I don't think so.
Point?
I don't think so, but I think that this episode definitely was the blueprint for the Angel stuff. And also, I'm not sure if they knew they were going to bring Angel back to life after Season 2.
So maybe that explains the whole like random events in this episode about Angel's life. They're like, all right, if we end up killing him by the end of the season, then at least we have rounded out or somewhat rounded out his life and his story and can move on.
Mm-hmm. That seems correct. Which I'm glad they didn't, but at the same time, I would have been curious to see what they would have done if Angel had never come back. That would have been an interesting, different take on Buffy. That would be fun. Let's get fan fiction.
Or if he would have come back and it would have been Angel in the Buffy series till whenever they decided to end it. Season 7. Maybe that's something we can talk about or create even, I don't know, fuck it, a little script.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Buffy's in class. A random vampire comes into class that's full of light. She takes off her coat and says, tomorrow at the graveyard, blah, 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 and burns herself to death.
Yeah, I hate that scene.
Incredible problems
hate
with.
That scene.
Number one, it was all a ruse at the end of it. So this vampire just killed Buffy like over a joke, right? Number two, how did they convince her to do that? Number three, why would she do that after they convinced her? I guess like now with ISIS, it's more understandable to see that people will do stupid things for stupid causes.
She's like a suicide bomber, a suicide agent. My thing is vampires seem more afraid of death than humans.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that they are immortal, at
and
least
she
in
was
in
no
this season.
fucks given.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like came out there and fucking posed as God. Like just was like, whatever, bro. And she also went up like a piece of flash paper.
And again, no Snyder.
No Snyder.
He's like-
he's all like, I'm sticking this one out.
I would like to imagine that he saw her enter the classroom, start to catch on fire, and was like, fuck this, and then just headed the other way.
And then she walked all the way down the halls, like essentially completely covering herself. So many problems with that scene.
So Snyder's
she
just
says,
all like, he's like, where's that fucking vegan?
That's a vegan. That was her. Actually, I think he said it was a boy. So after that, the message is delivered, and Buffy meets Angel in the graveyard as Willow is preparing the restoration spell.
Yeah, is that the scene where all the Scoobies are in the
They're
library?
all in the library.
They're
all preparing for it. Giles is there. Cordelia's there.
Which Cordelia is another character that is really not used in this episode.
No, just for that one line with Xander.
Yeah, and she's there to be amused at Xander when he's making the mozzarella sticks fight.
Yeah, she's the one he's telling the story to.
I need more Cordelia than that.
Yeah, you do.
That's very minimal. Need more.
Yeah, Cordelia needs to be front and center all the time. So she meets Angel in the graveyard with Mr. Pointy, and they're left in the library alone with Kendra, mind you. They're halfway through starting the ceremony, and vampires come out of everywhere, right?
Yes.
Angel shows up to the graveyard, starts talking to Buffy and saying like, hey, blah, 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 maybe we can get back together, obviously fucking with her. And then he's just like, you fall for it every time. This isn't about you. And she realizes...
Which you had mentioned when we were watching.
Yeah, we're watching. It's like,
didn't this already happen?
The second time this happened. The first time was when they're trying to resurrect the Master, and they steal Giles and Xander and Willow because they need their blood. They did this to her then. They're doing this to her again. She falls for it every time.
But you would think Kendra should be capable enough to handle
a couple low-level vamps. She's essentially doing as well as Giles in this fight.
Or, I guess, low-level, yes, but not Drusilla.
Then Drusilla comes into the picture. So they're overwhelmed. Drusilla comes into the picture, does some weird vampire trick with her fingernails.
Okay, so I didn't think this was a vampire glamoring thing. I thought that was like more of her like gypsy, clairvoyant, whatever she could do as a human, it's now amplified.
Yeah, it feels like that's amplified, but there's also... I don't want to jump too far ahead, but Spike talks about Dracula in the sense that Dracula is using a bunch of gypsy voodoo in order to do his stuff, like a bunch of gypsy spells. So with that being said, maybe there's a lot of them, and Drusilla would know more because she was actually maybe a gypsy.
Yeah.
Which is why I wonder if she was a gypsy that Angel killed. Like, is she a gypsy?
Well, she was a gypsy.
She was?
She was part of a gypsy tribe. I just don't think
that she was the main one.
Yeah, or they were related, or she was the one that the curse
Either
spawned.
way, she makes Kendra look in her eyes. Kendra falls into a hypnotized state, and Drusilla cuts her neck with her super long fingernails.
Bomb-ass acrylic nails. Wherever she got those done, they are fucking legit.
Yeah.
Because, one, they totally do not look real.
No.
And I guess they're supposed to be real, but, like, holy shit, man. Fucking brutal.
So Kendra's dead. A whole shelf of books falls onto Willow. They drag Giles out of there, and somebody breaks Xander's arm.
Was that the Moby?
The Moby vampire. The Moby vampire.
Thin Moby.
Thin Moby vampire breaks Xander's arm, and Buffy's running back at full speed, finds Kendra dead on the floor, picks her up. The police come in, and
basically immediately pull a gun on Buffy.
Yeah.
This scene is amazing because what Angel has done, he should have done a long time ago and knew he had to, which is fuck up Buffy's support system.
Yeah.
Just destroyed it.
Exactly. Like what the Joker had to do to Batman.
Yeah.
In Death of a Family.
Uh-huh.
Great run. So while she's running back to try to save everybody, it cuts into Whistler's narration. And he essentially says what...
Wait, Angel.
No. At the end of the episode is Whistler's narration.
So Angel starts it,
yes,
and Whistler ends it?
Yes. The same episode.
Stupid.
Yes.
Why?
That doesn't make any sense to me either. And that's why we had an argument about it. At the very beginning, I was like, no, that's not Angel. And at the end, I was like, that's definitely not Angel. And you're like, I agree that's not Angel. If we go back to the beginning, it was Angel.
This is the best way for us to resolve an argument, because we're both stubborn people.
We're both right.
We're both right. We were arguing, no, I know for sure that was Angel. You're like, well, no, I know Whistler narrates it. And none of us would budge. And we both ended up being right. I was like, perfect.
Yay! Mazel tov.
Yeah.
So Whistler, he talks about basically sometimes life gets hard and it's the big moments. It's not the big events, but what you do after that define you as a person.
Basically finishing what Angel is saying early on.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
I didn't either. And it's one of those things where it's like, you don't know me well enough to finish my sentences. You were only in one episode. No. It wasn't necessary. And this episode could have been without narration on both ends and would have been fine.
I usually agree with Buffy. I'll let you know when there's an episode where I'm like, no, that was better because of narration. Mm-hmm. I have a big issue with starting with narration and dropping it. And now I have an even bigger issue with starting with one narrator and ending with another one, particularly when that narrator you don't really know. Yeah. You get a bigger sense towards the end.
You get like essentially 5 minutes where he orders a hot dog, tells you he's a demon, but a good one, and that he's here to help Angel find his way to stalk Buffy as a 14-year-old girl in her school when her watcher, her fat watcher, comes and trains her for the first time to kill a vampire who she stabs incorrectly first and stabs in the heart.
Also super weird that he decided to show Angel this 14, 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
He's and like, Angel is instantly infatuated with her.
Yeah, instantly.
And again, I could argue that it's that connection between a vampire and Slayer, but still weird.
Okay, I have a question for you, which is, you look at Angel Season 1, and he's a pretty cocky motherfucker. Right?
Yeah.
He's got that open shirt. He's got stupid like necklace, and he speaks in riddles, flicks around flowers. How did he go from the chump homeless person chasing rats and failing to super confident Angel that we see in Season 1?
All right. Vampire's advocate.
Okay.
Advocate. Because I'm advocating.
He's advocating.
Yeah, advocating.
Advocating.
It's a facade. It's clearly a facade. I feel like watching this, it seems like he's a certain type of person. He's now the brooding angel, and a brooding angel is not going to be able to woo or even be on the same level playing field as Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He needs to have some sort of almost gimmick or shtick, and he's not strong enough to do that, so he can fake it. He can kind of like, oh, I'm super cool, I know stuff, but I don't want to get involved. He doesn't want to get involved because he's scared.
I accept all of that. Also, maybe his go-to normal acting like a human is back in the day in 1780, and he was a total douchebag then, so he can just fall back onto his memories of being a douchebag.
But is he even really the same person? And I guess this is getting way too far in the future with Angel, but he was just an alcoholic, basically, right? Yeah. All we really know, even in this episode, is that he was coming out of a bar. He was a drinker, right?
I would say he was 20. He was in his 20s. It's one of those things. We all drink in our 20s.
We do now, but did they in 1780?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he could have been like a farmer that all he did was...
Dude, I mean, we talk about like all of our founding fathers of like the revolution. All those guys were drunk all the time. There's this book called The Alcoholics Republic that just details like how much Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson drank back in the day. Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin had hard cider every morning.
Hard cider?
Yeah, every morning. That's a morning drink. They also made beer. Sam Adams wasn't the only one.
Have anything else you want to say
Not
about this
really.
episode?
No, do you?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I just want to see, like, overall, enjoyed it. Great episode. Just what you remembered from initially seeing it?
Yeah, it was good. I obviously enjoyed it more the first time I saw it. I kind of not knowing what was going to happen. It's full of great twists. Kendra's death. Great twists which we spoiled. So hopefully people watch the episodes before they listen to our podcast.
Or not, we told them where to watch it.
We told you guys where to see it. So we even spoil it before it even comes up in our own podcast. Like, we spoil it before we get to it.
Yeah.
But definitely a great episode. I think that as far as the mythology of Buffy, this is a really good stepping stone into getting into really deep cuts and creating something that's a series and not just, a standalone season. They're prepping everything up. They're making it very rich. They're going back into the past and the present and showing you what's possible when you write like this.
I agree 100%. It's what made me excited about this.
Mm-hmm.
And now going back and watching it, there's certain things that I like a little bit more. I actually like Drusilla's performance a little bit more.
I hated it. I thought it was worse. When she's like, when essentially Angel is deemed not worthy and she's just like, oh, this isn't good, this isn't good, this is bad, this is bad, this is... I hated that.
I liked it. She's like a little kid and it's so over the top because I feel like other actresses might have played that like too cool for school.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's different.
Yeah, it is different. I just didn't like that difference.
Yeah.
That just wasn't my bag, but you liked it. I dug it.
This time around.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I really love Drusilla, and sometimes she just gets on my nerves. This was one of the ones that gets on my nerves.
Maybe the next 15 years in our close to 50s, I won't like it, and you'll like it. Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe we'll switch up.
Yeah.
So how many people died?
People, demons, or vampires? Or
all of the above. Extremely high amount.
Yep.
That's
the
a lot
highest
of
of the season.
Highest
so far.
of the season?
Yeah.
Of the series or season? Series?
Both, actually.
Both?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Series high.
Yeah. Crazy. So Buffy kills 3 vampires.
Mm-hmm.
2 in the graveyard. And then another that I lost track of. So who knows? Kendra kills a vampire.
She did.
And then...
Yeah, the museum curator.
Yeah.
Killed by Drusilla and Angel.
Mostly Drusilla,
right? And then she's like, and the Angel's like, whoa, yeah. We can assume that he killed him off.
Started, but I don't know.
Well, he ended it, right? He says, save some for me. So if she does save some for him, he'll be the one to kill him.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
All right, I'm still going to count that for Drusilla.
Okay, because we didn't see him actually go for it.
Yeah, he's just... Maybe she didn't save some.
Maybe she was like, oops, I killed the bird.
Drusilla also kills Kendra, which is fucking
huge,
major.
Huge, man. Major laser.
Yeah. Angel kills the priest.
Mm-hmm. And Darla kills Angel.
Yeah.
I
feel like I missed one. I feel like there's 10 and I missed one.
I don't think so. I think you got the 9.
Angel kills somebody else. There must be 10 then.
You think there's 10?
Yeah, I know Angel killed somebody else.
Who?
Angel killed another human.
The guy before he tries to pull the thing out of the sword out of the stone.
Yeah.
That's
the
a
evil
guy.
sword in the stone. So there's 10.
Yeah, where he's not deemed not worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
9.
10. 10 or 9?
10. What happens next time?
Next time, Becoming Part 2. God, it's in my opinion, the better of the 2 episodes, right?
Yeah, the way more emotional episode.
Is Whistler in that episode?
You wish.
I
don't
hope
know.
So.
I'm
going to go ahead and say yes. I'm going to say that he does the narration in both the beginning and the end. These are all empty statements, though. I have no idea.
Should we say what happens? Because it's like massive spoilers.
It's massive spoilers. It
Should
feels
we?
like...
What do you say?
Look, you'll find out what happens. Tune into Prose Bros.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's part 2.
Part 2 of Becoming.
There you go.
We finish the story that we just started. We
Yeah.
find out if the cops indeed shoot Buffy at the beginning of the episode. And then the rest of the episode is just them burying Buffy.
Yeah.
Yeah. One last question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to get under the covers just to stay warm?
I don't know about tonight.
It's fucking hot.
It is.
Super hot.
Yeah.
In every generation, two Prose are born. Chosen to watch every episode of Buffy and tell you what they think about them. This is the Prose Visit Sunnydale. Season 2.
Sorry, Drew Barrymore. I just got the.
You suck. You never listen to anything I say.
Dude, I do, but like I'm concentrating, and then it comes
on
in.
the Komen event. They were talking about like Ben Folks is like, man, you just totally just no sold my joke, and I was like, that happens to me every time I say anything on our podcast.
Dude, I understand.
Snyder says like, this isn't a class, or this is a classroom, and she's like, yeah, we're learning lunch, and he's like, shut up, just give me a reason to kick you out. And they find the obelisk. He shows it to Spike. Spike says, oh, that's a big rock. Can't wait to tell my friends. They don't have a rock like this. I think I think it can stop the demon. 10.
10.
Jesus Christ, Geoff.